can always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending.
All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, this is Season 7 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, and it is presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. Unpack your pride with Tim's Team Canada Olympic hockey cards, the first ever of its kind Olympic-themed Team Canada set. That's 180 cards featuring men's and women's stars. You've got the legends, the duos, of course, the gold medalists. 3 cards per pack with chances to win one of 87 Sidney Crosby and 29 Nate McKinnon signature cards. You've got Tim's gift cards, thousands of free coffee and donut prizes only at Tim's, and you should collect them all. All right, it feels like we've got the band back together. There's Ray Ferraro. It looks like you are back in your comfortable home studio, Ray, for those who are following us on the YouTube channel. How was the golf excursion? Were you just striping it straight down the middle, winning all kinds of cash?
No. It was there were the highlights. Oh geez, you know what, Dregs? I gotta give you a quick little summary here.
Okay.
First night
little
we get
story.
in there.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, we're eating dinner. There's 4 of us, and take first bite of steak. Have never had this happen to me. It gets lodged in my throat.
Oh boy.
So I'm like, you think you can get it down, right?
Yeah.
And so I take a drink of water and like instantly I'm like, this is not going down. So now I don't know how long it took. Felt like a long time. So I stand up and now I'm kind of coughing and I'm pointing to the guys like I'm choking, right? And one of the guys gets up and hits my back and not, I can kind of cough a little bit. And then I hear Butcher Gross say, harder. And boom, he hits my back again. The guys were coming over they were going to have to do the Heimlich, I guess. And all of a sudden it came out. I'm telling you, freakiest thing. So we kind of regroup a little bit. Dinner, I didn't really feel like eating a whole lot. Next day I get up, we're driving off, I don't know, it's got to be like the 3rd hole. And I had to get something out of my bag and I don't restrap it on the cart, right? My bag falls off, breaks my driver.
Of course.
I'm 2.5 holes in and the guy I'm riding with goes, hey, what happened to your driver? I go, nothing. And he goes, look at it. It's in the bag and it's at a right angle. I'm like, what the? So now I get in, I'm using some other shaft of a club. And anyway, I played lousy early, good late, unbelievable group of guys. Like whole bunch of hockey guys were there. Mike Commodore, Ray Whitney, Murray Craven, Chuck Kobasu, Sergei Samsonov. So really, really fun group of guys. And man, some guys can play. And
I bet.
And if you if you're ever bored and you're around Ray Whitney or Mike Commodore, you won't be bored for long. They have it was just such a fun week of 75 all week, 75 Fahrenheit all week. It was just beautiful. And came back, went to a soccer tournament on the weekend and catching up on the Olympics as well. How about you? How's the cabbage? Nice and
the cabbage is good. It was very nice. It was very nice, above seasonal temps, I would say. But woke up this morning and there's a 70-kilometer wind that's howling across Lake of the Prairies. And the forecast, as we record here Tuesday morning, is for something like 25 to 30 centimeters of snow in the next 24 hours.
So for the Americans listening, that's over 40 miles an hour winds. And what'd you say, 25 centimeters?
Yeah, like a foot, something like that.
Yeah, in the neighborhood of a foot. Man, I'll tell you, Holly's got to be good with the shovel, eh?
Wow.
Because you're looking toasty in there.
Yeah, Mason will be good with a shovel because, as you know, you have to be able to pivot with your travel plans. And I think that's what we're going to have to do. So we're probably going to get out of Dodge here. But before we move on, by the way, we've got Ryan Rishaug, who's posted for TSN and for the Ray Dreger Hockey Podcast and for Got Your Back in Milano covering the Olympics. He's standing by. Quick story. So we arrive here at the Cabbage in Manitoba last Thursday. Saturday, Valentine's Day, we go to a function at Prairie Lake Lodge. It was a Valentine's Day dinner. Wonderful. Smoked brisket, all the trimmings. And there was an Elvis impersonator for the entertainment.
Right.
Dylan James is this dude's name, a local guy. Actually won like the International Elvis Impersonator of the Year award back in like 1997. But as good as he was, I could not stop giggling the entire performance. And I mean, I don't know, I guess we're all kind of Elvis fans. There he is. I took a snapshot of it. There's Dylan James, AKA Elvis, of course. But he had everything down pat. The voice, of course, but the mannerisms, the hand gestures, the lip movements, all of this kind of stuff. So next to ice fishing here on Lake of the Prairies, that has been my favorite experience of the trip, was the Elvis impersonations
Do you know
on Valentine's
Do you know
Day.
many Elvis? Do you know many Elvis songs or?
Well, apparently more than I thought I knew. It was
Okay,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah.
where, you hear, you ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Oh, Jesus
That
Christ.
kind of-
Nobody wants to hear you do that.
No, that didn't.
I can assure
that
you.
didn't sound very good. All right, so that was the experience there. So I think we're going to do another Ray and Driggs. Probably makes sense to hold off now because, look, we're getting into the quarterfinals on Wednesday. Then, obviously, the semis. You've got the gold medal game on Sunday. So I think we'll aim for a post-gold medal edition to really, truly wrap it up. But we do have Ryan Rishaug, who's going to join us via cell phone from Milano, Italy, to talk about the preparations that Team Canada is making. And literally, Ryan, as you join us, Team Canada just wrapped up its practice not that long ago. So tell us what you saw, starting with an update perhaps on Josh Morrissey.
Yeah, I thought Morrissey looked really good today, guys.
Good.
So after he was injured, we went to skate the next day, and he was skating around out there pretty gingerly. Like, he wasn't really taking shots, wasn't really doing much, just passing pucks. Well, fast forward a few days, and today he was full participant at practice, and he was paired with Colton Parayko again. We talked to him after the practice, and he wasn't going to give it away. I mean, he's really hopeful, but to me, what I saw out there was a guy hopping around looking like he was ready to play. So I think, if I had to bet my house, I'd say that guy's going to be in the lineup as Canada hits the quarterfinal. And then, of course, the other one guys like Nate McKinnon. When practice started, we're all looking at each other like, what's going on here, right? We saw at the end of that last game how he looked. But Hockey Canada made it clear it's just a maintenance day for him and Sam Bennett. And Cooper told us after practice that McKinnon should be good to go.
It's funny. Things have gone so well for Canada. I mean, they've looked so great, but Morrissey coming back into their lineup is a plus. It's hard to say they've missed anything or anybody, but I think they miss Morrissey when he's not there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you guys know what these events are like. Canada looks so good right now. I mean, that top line, McDavid, there's so many things that are going well. But, I mean, the real stuff hasn't really started yet to a degree.
Yeah.
So it's more about how are they going to look when it gets real, Dreg. You've covered enough world championships and Olympics and such to know, through the round robin, you try and keep it tight. You try and stick to your principles and play well. And then all of a sudden, it isn't until a semifinal where you're staring down an opponent that can actually fully wallop you back in the mouth. And so Morrissey, for sure, will be a guy that can withstand that, assuming that he's healthy. But it's more big picture, kind of how they're rounding into form, Dregs, for when it really, really gets wrapped up.
Yeah, and it is about to get wrapped up. There's no doubt about that, Ray. So go ahead, and then we'll wrap up with Ryan in terms of the overall vibe.
Well, we've all been lucky enough to be around tournaments, and the one thing that changes as you get now, you're in the one and outs, and when things go sideways in a game in the round robin, there's pressure a little bit, but there's not like there is now. Like when you come back and sit on the bench in the one and out games and you look up at the clock, it feels like when you're behind, the clock is draining like so fast. Like you can't believe it. You sit a shift and then you look up and you're like, oh my God, 5 minutes went by. And that's where the you hope your quality of play, but your composure drives you through a little bit. I mean, we've seen it in the other events too. Like when the pressure ramps up, man, things just go sideways and you can't get it back in time in some cases.
What's the vibe been like there, Ryan? I mean, from a Team Canada perspective, again, the heavy lifting is about to start, but generally speaking, through 3 games, you got a pretty good feel for how this team is setting up.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's so much familiarity from the Four Nations. Like I was talking to Brad Marchand today about that. He's like, like we've been through a lot of this together. Like it's not the first time. You kind of, the guys' personalities better. They got a better feel for one another. I think they're a really comfortable group. And I know you guys will talk about it more as the show goes on here, but I mean, I got to say, like Connor McDavid playing the way he's playing, making the most of every single minute that he gets, Celebrini doing what he's been able to do. It's such a good starting point for this group. And you've got Crosby anchoring that. I won't even call it a third line. They're just so reliable. That line hasn't been touched. And really, Nathan MacKinnon has, he's got some points here, guys, but he hasn't really checked in that Nathan MacKinnon way. So I think they're happy with where they're at, but I think they feel like there's another level that they can get to. And I certainly think they're going to need to get to as they get to that semifinal. But couple real quick notes, Drake. We're wondering who might come out because Marchand is going to go back in. So Nick Suzuki looked like he was placeholding today with Hagel, and they'd moved Sam Reinhart up to that line. That's where we assume MacKinnon would be. So a bit of an interesting discussion here as to who should the forward be that comes out, whether it's Jarvis, whether it's Suzuki, and what that'll end up looking like. So a couple things we're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, beautiful stuff, Ryan. All right. Thank you. Ryan Rishaug from TSN joining us from Milano to give us the latest scene set. Like literally, as we record here, Ray, Team Canada just wrapping up its practice. And you've got Canada, the United States, Finland, Slovakia, all advancing, moving into the medal round. So why don't we kind of do a deeper dive here as we move forward into the headlines, brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. From the first puck drop to the final medal moment, you can watch the Winter Olympics, the Canadian Brewhouse. While you're there, why not grab a Corona bucket on special and enter to win a Team Canada sweater? A true Canadian sports bar and your home for sports. That is the Canadian Brewhouse. So again, not to dive too deep, Ryan gave us a real good feel for what practice looked like. I'm sure that there are players, MacKinnon, Bennett, Brad Marchand has dealt with something that's not unusual coming out of the NHL regular season. But has there been anything that's jumped out at you without getting too deep or specific, Ray, to how Canada has looked to this point? Or is it just, as Ryan said, we got to wait and see until they get into, kind of the mud here of what the medal round looks like?
Well, I don't, you can try and nitpick what you want. Maybe they could be a little sharper. Like Parayko had the one bad turnover and, when he coughed one up and it ended up in the back of the net. And so you could say, they could be a little sharper in their D zone. You could always be sharper. I mean, I don't really know how to nitpick the thing. It looks pretty good. And I'm fascinated with how players play when the game changes, because the international game is different. Even though it's a lot of the same players, there's a lot you don't know. There's like a lot of players you don't know. There's the rules are a little bit different. You're playing with new teammates. I get a kick out of Mark Stone, though. I really do. I've talked about this before. And I came up with this thought about why he's so good. And so there are almost every player literally in the game is faster than him. Like that's a fact.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. There are there are many, many players in the NHL that skate faster and that are stronger than Stone. But what they don't have, and I will say Stone is in the very, very top of the NHL, is he's got a fast brain. So while his feet don't go fast, his brain goes fast. And where other guys' feet go fast, their brains don't go as fast. So Mark's anticipation to start like kind of jumping when he needs to go, or when he knows, I don't have it here, I got to give it up and I get it back. I love watching him play. He thinks fast, skates slow. Lots of guys skate fast, think slow, and Stone is the way you look at a player and you go, man, that guy can do some things that people that physically look like they should be better, they're just not. They're just not. He's just such a good player, and and watching him and Crosby together, it's pretty easy to see that that's Cooper's safety blanket, right? Whenever something's going wrong, they're going to be out there.
And not to put you on the spot, but were there several players like Mark Stone in your era, or is there a player that reminds you of Mark Stone back in your day?
I use this guy as an example for a lot of things, but because I think he was one of the most underrated stars of our generation, but Ron Francis. Ron was not a fast skater. He wasn't he wasn't especially agile. He was a good enough skater, but his anticipation was off the charts. I can't tell you how many times he would knock the puck out of the air, or somebody would be going by him at 100 miles an hour. He'd reach out with his stick, get only the puck, no trip, get the puck, turn around and go the other way. Like those guys, their ability. You know another guy, Dale Hawerchuk.
Yeah,
the late Dale Hawerchuk. Man, he was not a great skater, but his anticipation, the way him and Ronnie could think the game, think of what's going on, not just now, but what the next play is going to be. That's separating ability. And you can train and watch video and do all that stuff that you want, but you either have or you don't. That's innate.
Yeah.
And Stone has it.
All right. So from one end of the spectrum, perhaps to the other, and that's the game of Macklin Celebrini on the Olympic stage, right? I know he's a young favorite of yours, of all of ours. I mean, if you're a hockey fan, then you can appreciate what Macklin Celebrini is at 19 years, and you can kind of dream and put some perspective to that dream of what he's going to develop into when he hits full stride, right, as an NHL player. But there he is with 6 points, 4 goals and 2 assists, tied with Sidney Crosby, who's got 2 goals, 4 assists. Juraj Slafkovsky, 3 and 3 for 6 points. Second overall at this stage of the Olympics. Connor McDavid leading the tournament with 9 points, 2 goals and 7 assists. I mean,
right. It's like a peewee tournament. He's averaging 3 points a game. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
It is kind of funny, but when you think of Celebrini, I mean, even he scores on the penalty shot. And I don't think that anybody on that Canadian bench, including John Cooper, even for a second thought, all right, well, maybe we should give that puck to Connor McDavid, because you can in international play. It doesn't have to be the offended player, right? It can be any player you pick off the bench. And in this case, I mean, Celebrini just grabbed the puck and goes, all right, here we go, and puts it away like he's done it 100 times in an Olympic game. But I mean, are you a little bit surprised at what this kid has accomplished at 19? Yeah,
I am. I mean, like it just the ability to step in and not defer to the other players, to the other stars. I think that gives you a picture of the confidence and the belief in his own abilities that Macklin has, because he knows he belongs. Like deep down, he knows he belongs. And that's when you're young, it's really hard. Maybe it shouldn't be hard. I don't know. But I remember being young and playing on a Team Canada and at the World Championships. And, like one of the guys my age, but I was like, oh, Steve Yzerman's there and Mark Messier's there. And like, do I really belong here? Do I belong with those players? And Mac just has jumped in, and watch him play on that line. And his give and go game, like that's a smarts to the game, an ability to see and move at the same time. And you're doing it with the best player in the world. So
Yeah.
you know how the best players are. They do not love pucks in their feet. They do not like to chase a breakout pass. And
Yeah.
so you have to be good enough to play with them and confident enough to play with them. And Celebrini's looked just fantastic. And as much as we say, we're going to Connor McDavid, but he's looked just incredible in the tournament. And right now it was important I think, to avoid the Swedes in the quarters. It could go sideways pretty easy against them.
Yeah.
They're a good team. This does feel like, right now it feels like Canada's a step ahead of everybody.
It does.
But as Ryan said, like a bad goal against a penalty kill that doesn't kill a couple times, like it can change pretty fast. And this is the best part of any tournament. The one and outs are the best part. I love this part of tournament hockey.
Yeah, just to wrap up, the overall analysis of Macklin Celebrini. How about the comment from Nate McKinnon, who, first of all, places Celebrini as a top 5, top 7 player in the world, just matter of factly at 19. And then he was asked, well, can you imagine yourself on the Olympic stage at 19? And he just simply said, quote, I was an idiot. No, not good enough. Not mature enough, not anything enough. That was Nathan McKinnon's assessment of himself back in the day at 19 in comparison to what Celebrini is doing right now.
I just read an article by Nick Kostanika from NHL.com, and he interviewed Macklin's parents, about Macklin. And they talk about like the nature versus nurture stuff. Yeah. And Macklin went away at 14 to go to Shattuck St. Mary. So a lot of this he was figuring out not in with mom and dad. And he also had the exposure through Rick. Rick is, for people that don't know Macklin's dad, Rick is he works with the Golden State Warriors, but he's a premier I don't even know how you would call him. He's a body,
like a physiotherapist times 100.
Yeah, so like about mechanics and kinesiology, and Rick's a brilliant guy. And so Macklin had the exposure to what pro athletes do from a very, very young age. The way they train, he had his dad's expertise. It's really an interesting circumstance that he was raised in. And you look at, he plays with joy, he plays with passion. His ability is very easy to see. And man, I think we're just at the very start of what we're going to be watching for 20 years with him.
Couple more Team Canada related questions, and then we'll shift over to Team USA here in the Canadian Brewhouse headlines, Ray. Ryan touched on just, maybe some changes, the decisions that John Cooper and the staff are going to have to make, depending on this player, that player. I mean, McKinnon will come back into the mix. So is it Jarvis? Is it Suzuki? Who gets pulled out of the lineup? But what has been your overall view of Tom Wilson on the wing with McDavid and Celebrini?
Wilson is a unicorn, right? Like there's just nobody else like him. He is, he's got the ability to play with really good players, but he also has the understanding of, I don't carry the puck on this line. Like he knows what his part of that line is. And if you watch him in the offensive zone, when they get in there and they're cycling around, he's kind of staying out of the way. Right. He makes himself available for a bump pass and a touchback, but he's in the front of the net. He's in the corner retrieving pucks, and then he gets it into the hands of the really dangerous guys. I think he's been more disciplined than people were probably worried about. The play with Fiala, by the way, I feel terrible for that guy. Like for Fiala, that was kind of an odd play, and for the injury to be as severe as it is, man, and the fact is it's Wilson, it's not
Brutal.
somebody else, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I do like that there are times when it's not Wilson on that line, and
Yeah.
Cooper's the versatility they have at the very top end of their lineup, I think is a possibility that other teams just don't have. Like
Yeah.
they can move people around at the very top of their lineup, not in the middle of it, at the very top, and make their team maybe like a more concerted offensive push at certain times when McKinnon goes up there or whatever it is. So I think Wilson's been fine, more than fine.
Yeah.
Again, you can sit here and split hairs all over the place, but it's a damn good team, right? It's like there's not much that's gone wrong so far.
No, I mean, there have been conversations best ever and all. For me, it's way too early to proclaim that. Let's
Yeah,
first of all, they've
don't
got to
know
get
about
to the
that.
gold medal. Like
Yeah.
best ever is a pretty big term, right?
First of all, ever is a long time. It really
Yeah.
is. The Canada Cup team with Lemieux and Gretzky and
87. Yeah.
Messier, the 87 team, that was a pretty damn good team. But when you start comparing across, like that's comparing across a different era. And
Right.
I find that really difficult to
Yeah.
really get my head around, even though I played against those guys and I broadcast these guys. This is an exceptional team though. Like the
Yeah.
87 team was a remarkable team, and this team is they have a chance to. I mean, they got to win, otherwise it's not in the conversation.
All right, last one in Canada. We'll shift to the Americans. Where are you, Jordan Binnington, thus far? As expected, despite the numbers in the NHL going into the Olympic Games, it is for me. Honestly, I expected him to get the first game. He's played a couple. Granted, you've got a rock solid defense, the systems that they employ, the fact that it's hard to take the puck away from those Canadian skilled players takes pressure off the goaltending. But Binnington has been what I expected he would be to this point.
There was a moment in the last game. France had scored, and then 10 seconds later they had another chance and he stopped it like under his pad.
Yeah.
Like it was not a good save, but he stopped it. And I was thinking in that moment that's the position for the Canadian goalie, is you're not going to get a lot of work, but you can't give that one up.
Right.
Like the goal that he gave up was the bad turnover, and that was the quick goals came all together there. And I think he's been more than fine, but as much as the pressure is on the team in the one and out, it's on the goalie. Like there is these are the games where you give up a long one, you give up one that you should stop. Those are you just run out of time trying to get those back. So I think this is like everything else in the tournament. I think it's set up pretty well for Canada so far. That it was Binnington, it was Thompson, it was Binnington, and now it's Binnington again. And like everything's gone the way they would have hoped it would go. But now now the heat is here. I mean, this is the way this is when guys respond or stumble, and there's no second chances anymore, right?
No. All right, well, let's shift over to some of the stories swirling around Team USA. Again, as we record this episode of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, the Americans are awaiting, their opponent moving forward. Is it Sweden? Is it Latvia? All of that is determined on this day, Tuesday. One of the stories has a Canadian flavor to it, and that's Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets. Right. So he was healthy scratched against Team Germany. It's pretty obvious that this, in some way, shape, or form, dates back to, was he a misfit on the Four Nations team? I don't know. That's up to the coaching staff. But it's pretty evident that Mike Sullivan for Team USA sees better options in the team game that they want and need to play moving forward. what's your assessment or analysis of whether that's the right call or wrong call? I guess we'll find out.
Well, that's the whole point, is we will find out. I find it really hard to believe that Kyle Connor can't find a place on that team, like on any team, really. I think he's really good. I think he gives you like a one-shot scorer. He's fast. I think he can defend if you need him to defend. Like none of these guys are, you would put them as defenders first, right?
Yeah.
But, it seems obvious that Keller's ahead of him and Connor's out. And I think Clayton Keller's a really dangerous player, but for me, him and Jack Hughes are very, very similar. And I'm just from the outside, I'm a little surprised that Connor hasn't found a place on this team. This is 2 tournaments in a row, and he just hasn't found that connection with somebody that makes Sullivan go, yeah, that's one I got to keep.
Yeah. Auston Matthews took some criticism early in the Olympic tournament, and we're still relatively early. I mean, Team USA finished 3-0. They won Group C. He had 2 goals versus Germany. Germany in that 5-1 win, I guess that's what it was. 5.
Yeah, 5-1.
He leads Team USA with 5 points. And Sullivan and company talked about how he had the spark, he had the drive in that game against Germany. But is this carryover from the criticism that Auston Matthews also gets as captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the up and down season that Toronto has had? Or is it justified? Does he need to do more? Should he be compared to Jack Eichel and some of the other American superstars?
Well, it wasn't very long ago we were all discussing is he as good as McDavid? Now you're comparing him to Jack Eichel, and that's a different level, right? I mean, McDavid's now on his own planet. Yeah, the criticism of Matthews, I think some of it has to do with he had first of all, he had a really slow stretch to the season that nobody seemed to be able to explain. He just looked borderline disinterested in it. And it's really, it's hard to fathom what's going on, because he doesn't say a whole lot and you don't see a whole lot, but you don't have to be Drew Doughty, like speaking wise, to have a major impact on your team. Look, Nikita Kucherov doesn't say anything publicly. Nothing. He is the engine of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. And Matthews just doesn't have that. He doesn't have that aura around him. He seems to fade into the back. I think it almost feels like that's where he's most comfortable. Is not out front. And there's nothing wrong with that, really. There's lots of players that don't want to be the spokesman or, the face of the franchise. The problem is he's really, really good, and that's what he's going to be, whether he wants it or not. And so I think he's almost the type of player that no matter what he does, there's going to be in a lot of cases, you can nitpick his game a bit. And part of it would be just that his outward personality is pretty reserved. Right. And I don't know if that's fair or not. If you're critiquing the game, that's a different story. At the start of the year, he wasn't very good. He just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, if the U.S. is going to win, he's going to have a part of it. Like, they're not winning this tournament if Matthews is a passenger. It's just, it's not going to happen.
Well, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk have really never faded in any scenario, and they certainly don't lack confidence or a voice in the process. What do you think of Matthew's chirp of Leon Draisaitl as Team USA played the Americans? And this isn't a direct quote, I'm going to paraphrase, but it was pretty simple. It was like, hey, always a bridesmaid, eh, Leon? Always a bridesmaid, never the bride. I mean, I guess it's fair given the back-to-back championships Florida has won against the Edmonton Oilers, but That's a pretty deep chirp for a superstar in Leon Draisaitl.
Well, it is, but so I lived my life in that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
In my previous life. And now that there's microphones around, people hear a little bit and they try to
right.
dissect everything that goes on. Man, that is nonstop. You don't generally get a chance to, like, you don't generally get a chance where you're at the benches and everybody's stopped to make
Yeah,
that direct comment, right? Usually it's a flyby, it's a by the bench. It's when there's a face off outside the blue line, there's always, well, not always, a lot of times if Leon was lined up nearest the boards, Tkachuk would be giving it to him right there too. You can't
of
hear it,
course. Yeah, yeah,
but it happens way more frequently, and like, and there are things that are pretty cutting that are said, and in the if this was an office, it would be a problem, but it's not. the
yeah.
the the competitive sport opens up some of it's
Yeah.
really funny, Drake's. Like some of it is
No,
honestly,
I
like
get
some
it.
of it
Yeah.
is, but I mean, what's Leon gonna say? F you. I mean, that's really basically all you got left, or to say,
Right.
you know, call me when you get 110 points or something. Like, what are you gonna say?
Yeah.
Nothing. You just take it and you go, and you
Yeah,
skate
I
away.
guess for me, on the Olympic stage against Germany, it's low hanging fruit. Matthew isn't afraid to chirp anybody in any situation. I understand that. But does he say that in game 1 or game 6 of the Stanley Cup final against
Yes.
Leon and an Oilers team that is
Yes.
way better prepared? He does, eh? He does.
Matthew
Okay.
does. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure he does.
That makes it even better.
Yeah, like there's not a chance. I mean, he's not chirping. He's not saying, "Oh, Leon, your team's bad."
Right.
Like that would be cheesy, and that's not even
Yeah.
funny, and it's not even cutting. But he's
Yeah.
talking about Leon, and the
Of
fact
course.
is,
Yeah.
the team he was on won 2 times in a row, and the team
Mhm.
Leon was on lost 2 times in a row. So
Yeah.
it was just like he probably, like, there are certain things like you can't believe it all just plays out like that, and the chirp is just sitting there, Dregs. It's just a freebie. And
So
so
good.
yeah, he's but yes, absolutely he would have something to say in the final.
All right, two more quick ones here in the Canadian Brewhouse headlines. What do you like? Do you envision Canada and the U.S. in the
Yes.
gold medal final? Is that what you envision?
Yeah.
Okay, and will it be similar to what we saw in the Four Nations? And I'm not talking about the nonsense off the start of the game, but it will have a physical tone to it. I don't think there's any question about that. But are you like O-Dog and some of the others around the game who cover the game on a minute-by-minute basis, and you think that Canada is the best team and Canada is going to win? Or is it still very much up for grabs?
Not often does what you envision come to fruition. But I think most of us felt the best teams are Canada and the US. It almost felt like those 2 teams and then everybody else. I do think that's where it's headed. And part of the storyline at the end of the day was the US has better goaltending than Canada, right? That was part of the story at the Four Nations.
Yep.
And then it got into the final and it didn't play out that way. Not that Hellebuck wasn't any good. It was that Binnington was terrific. And I think we're headed right down that same path. And the story will be, can Canada's goaltending hold up? There will be a discipline factor to the game. Don't forget when they played at Four Nations, it was they got to play a couple of times. This is going to be one time, and that's it. And can somebody like Quinn Hughes or Werenski from the back end make an enormous difference for the U.S.? I think that could be their strength. But
maybe.
I look at it right now, and it's Canada just looks a notch better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here. The Swedes could still be a problem
Yeah.
for the US. I mean, it looks like, it looks like they're a half a step behind the US too. But the 1-0 games are just, I find them just utterly unpredictable. And so if it gets into a final, I don't think it's more than a coin flip. I really don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, by Sunday, obviously, we're going to know. And, it feels like we'll find a way to reconvene and do a post-gold medal edition of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. So those are your headlines. Thank you to the Canadian Brewhouse. Zuby is away. We've got Steve Taylor, who's operating for us here today, Ray. So we're going to, we had Frankie Corrado on earlier last week while you were away. And we didn't really dive too deep into the Tim's Hockey Challenge because obviously the NHL regular season is fully on hiatus. But I think just out of respect to the Tim's Challenge, we should update where we're positioned right now. I mean, I went into the Olympic break sputtering, like absolutely sputtering.
You needed the break. You needed the break.
I needed a reset and recharge. I did. So I sit 32 for 90 for 825 points. You are 27 for 90, so just 5 back now. That gap is short.
You know what? I'm the Columbus Blue Jackets. I did not need this break. Columbus is super hot.
On a heater.
10 of 11, and the break, I'm worried my picking hand's going to go cool.
Yeah. We're wondering about Ryan Rishaug, and we were talking about maybe inventing some sort of side game whereby, if he gets one right, something along those lines where we almost double his point output just to give him a bit of a break and some help. He's 17 for 90. 17 for 90.
I was wondering, do we have relegation?
Well, if that's the case, Randeen Rishaug is taking over. Yes, there's no doubt.
What an upgrade! What an upgrade! There's only one thing we need to be concerned with Rishaug coming back from Italy, and that's his belt size.
Oh, lots of pasta, pizza.
Oh yeah, there's lots of it. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for him. I got to say, on a little side thing, our guys from TSN, Sam Franklin and Chris, they went up to Lake Como on a little excursion, and they sent me a video of these 3 idiots coming back on the train, and they might have sampled some Barolo and some limoncello, and one of the guys mentioned, I think we're going to end up in Moscow. They weren't sure if they were on the right train. They were geez. I think the guys are having some fun over there, so good for them. But when I got this video, I'm like, oh man, we might not see them again.
We might not. Well, hey, you know what? I've watched all the games. I've enjoyed the panel coverage, the coverage in general. James Duthie looks a little too comfortable with that group. It's off-putting. He and I are going to have some discussions face to face when he gets back. He looks like he's having a little bit too much fun sitting right beside Kevin Bieksa. If I were Ron McLean, I'd be pissed. I'd be worried about my job. I would be, because that's the kind of guy that Duthie is.
Now, this is, for those of you that don't know Dregs well, this is putting a larger than canoe size paddle in the water and stirring it up. This is Dreger 101 right there.
Well, the number of texts from friends and colleagues, this is just weird to watch them, but you know what? I've watched, and I appreciate the analysis. I appreciate the camaraderie, and they're working as good partners should work together on the Olympic stage. So there you go. What's the rest of your week look like, my friend?
Came back from the golf trip, got a flat tire, got to go get that fixed today. And also a big start to the week. Oh, yeah. Pretty excited about that. What else? I got a whole lot, Dregs. You know what? I'm gonna have to go get that driver fixed. I can't be without.
You've got to
a
get that
driver.
fixed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be up to the club today to. Well, if I get the tire fixed, it's all hinging on this tire, right? And by the way,
Lots of errands.
if you have a flat tire, you would just fix it, right? Like you. Yeah.
No. I'd fix it on the road. I wouldn't, I would put the spare
that can't
on.
happen.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That can't happen. So
Come on.
No chance. I don't know how. I'm going to limp my way down to the tire shop at the bottom of the hill here and just say,
boy.
I'm the type of guy though, Dregs, when I walk in, they're like, yes, here's a guy that doesn't know a thing about his car. They're so happy to see me.
Or what it should cost, like a simple tire fix. Yeah, $700. Yeah, no problem. That's what it costs to fix the tire.
Can you believe we had to paint your car too? Oh, really? Who knew? What about you? You're gonna get out of there today?
Yeah, it's too bad because we certainly had other plans, family and otherwise. Done a lot of ice fishing with my neighbor Doug. You've seen the pictures, of course, historically of Doug and I sitting in the shack. A lot of time with Mason, so it's been nice to reconvene here. But, you got to pivot, as I said earlier in the podcast, and we cannot fight Mother Nature. And Katie Dreger is in a production, Cabaret, in Thunder Bay, Ontario. So opening night is Thursday, and Holly would walk over broken glass to get there for opening night. So I'm not messing with that. So I think we'll be on the road today. So.
Well, travel safe. Hope everybody's well. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you after the gold medal game.
Yep, you bet. And thank you to our sponsors who continue to support the Rain Dregs podcast. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, and our sponsor for headlines, Canadian Brewhouse. Thank you to both of you. Until next time, enjoy the Olympics and stay safe, everybody.